Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, and it's their hospitality that allow us to have a community here, to have a meeting here today. So I'd like to put forward my own opinion about this rezoning. I'm speaking as a long-term resident in Vancouver. When I landed in Vancouver in 1965, I lived at the corner of Union and Main Street. Just behind me was the Hogan's Alley. I lived there for about 15 years before I left. My parents still live in Strathcona. And so I've been very active in the Chinatown affairs for over 40 years. During the 1970s and 1980s, I did a lot of work as a volunteer helping to build the Chinese Culture Center. And Mr. Bilcock, who was the vice chair of CCC, was just speaking, and I serve on the board recently with him. Of course, I'm no longer on the board, so I actually will be speaking as a past vice chair of the Chinese Culture Center. And of course, the umbrella organization for the Chinatown Association is the Chinese Benevolent Association of Vancouver, and I was the former president of the Chinese Benevolent Association of Vancouver. Now, I'm speaking against the rezoning application of 105 Keefer because it's too high and too bulky to fit in with the existing architectural and building of Chinatown, which is now designated as a National Historical Site. And I think if you now drive or walk or cycle towards Chinatown on Columbia, Quebec-Columbia connector, you can see this is becoming more of a focus of Chinatown, the gateway to Chinatown. So I think the building at 105 Keefer is too high and also too bulky to fit in with the Chinese Culture Center Museum, which is right on Columbia Street facing the development. And of course, other speakers had spoken to the fact that the Memorial Square was another significant piece of architecture there that is important to the Chinatown community. So with the removal of the viaducts, this will become, again, de facto focal point of Chinatown, and people will be coming to the area via the Quebec connector. And I think it's important that people will see they're going into Chinatown. So the architecture has to be more sympathetic, more respectful of what's there. A lot of people spoke about development. There are developments in Chinatown. There are many developments in Chinatown. I think it's just to the degree. I remember when I was on City Council, we were having the same kind of meetings here, many nights debating over the historical area height review. And I think from a lot of the association were skeptical. They were against it. But I think they also realized that Chinatown needs some development. So from that point on, it was agreed that we actually have new development and new heights for buildings in Chinatown. But for north of Keefer, where the site is right now, I think it was understood that should be 90 feet. And I think speakers had already talked about it in terms of that paragraph 6A and 6B in the rezoning policy for Chinatown that's dated April 2011 that clearly lays out what you have to do in order to go for rezoning. And I would say, as a lot of speakers have said, this rezoning does not meet that requirement at 6A and 6B. And the other thing I'd like to bring council's attention to is the yellow paper that was given out now is on the city website, whereby the planning staff is trying to put together a public hearing maybe in July talking about changes to the Chinatown development policies. And I think 3 points they make is tall and wide building will no longer be considered. And also it's new buildings should be smaller, built on narrow lots with smaller storefronts, involve the community more in the review of new developments. So if that's coming in July, and I really do see if the planning staff, given their professional credential and their knowledge, to say that 90 feet is really maximum for Chinatown as a historical site, I would say I would urge council not to pass this rezoning based on the fact we're going to be considering this for the whole of Chinatown in another public hearing in July. So I think that's all I have to say, and I think I'm very happy that there are so many people who are passionate and interested in Chinatown and to come forward to give their opinion, whether it's for or against. Certainly, that's a great thing about our system, the democracy, and I thank you for your patience, and I look forward to your decision, which is not easy, but that's what we have to do. Thank you very much.